This episode is brought to you by eBay. We all have that piece. The one that's so you've basically become known for it. And if you don't yet, fashionistas, you'll find it on eBay. That Miu Miu red leather bomber, the Custo Barcelona cowboy top, or that Patagonia fleece in the 2017 colorway. All these finds are all on eBay, along with millions of more main character pieces backed by authenticity guarantee. eBay is the place for pre-loved and vintage fashion. eBay, things people love.
Hello, and welcome to It's a Fandom Thing. I'm your host, Erin Marlowe, and each week I'm joined by a panel of guests to discuss all things fandom and pop culture, primarily from a female perspective. You'll find everything from fanfic, to cosplay, to Schitt's Creek, to Supernatural, and everything in between. So put on your favorite piece of fandom merch, set aside that fanfic that you're writing about your OTP, and sit back and enjoy this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Pop Culture and Fandom News. I'm your host, Erin Marlowe, and on Friday's episode, we are going to be continuing our celebration of Pride Month with a discussion about Tegan and Sara. So we are continuing our music portion of the month, and I'm also very excited because this week we have two first-time guests on here. They host their own podcast. I will let them tell you all about that podcast, but let me introduce them first. And I'm trying to decide because their names both begin with A and I go alphabetically. So I don't know if they want me to do Adrian first or Ashley first, or if either of you really care. I forgot to ask that before we hit record, but
we normally would do like mental rock, paper, scissors, but I guess it doesn't really work in this format.
I mean, you could quickly do it with the, you could quickly do it right now.
Or is actually the, who talks first? You talk first? Or?
Yes. we are very much that scene from Star Wars.
Okay, well then, hi, Ashley.
Hi.
Hi, and hi, Adrian.
Hello there.
Hi.
I wave as if anybody could see me other than you.
I do the same thing all the time. I do that all the time. And you are both the hosts of Talk Like a Teen podcast. So if you want to just tell everybody, briefly what that podcast is about.
All right, if we're going in alphabetical order. So Talking Like a Teen, the slogan we use referencing one of the songs Red Belt is the podcast where we have a tendency to rush back into our pasts. Because it started out in its inception, and we'll get into that, I'm sure, about like just a mutual love of Tegan and Sara, a very caffeine-induced, very frantic text while I was driving. I am so sorry, Eileen, if you're listening. I was not being safe, but the premise was too fun. And then we just decided to do it. And while it started out being very much like a Tegan and Sara fan cast, it sort of became its own just thing where it's informed by them and our mutual love. But it kind of has, and I say this wholesomely, spiraled into this beautiful celebration of course, Tegan and Sara, our friendship, and the pop culture that Ashley and I have bonded over in like the decade that we've known each other, which is wild to say that. And I don't know if Ashley had anything to add to that. I'm so sorry. I'm trying so hard not to ramble.
No, that was awesome.
That was beautiful.
It was, yes. And I have listened to your podcast and I do love it. And I love the dynamic that you both have. You can tell you both know each other very well. And so it works really well. So definitely check it out. I will put a link. I don't know if you have a website as well, but I can put like a link in the show notes so people can easily find you. So we're going to go ahead and get started with some pop culture and fandom news. And I'm really excited. I always get excited when it's first time panelists for us to hear what they're into. So I'm going to go with you, Adrian, first. So, Adrian, what is one thing in pop culture or fandom that you're into right now?
I have not shut up about Andor for the last, I think, 2 months. And Ashley's already making that face because she knows I'm trying so hard to not like scream and rave about it. Because I didn't start season 1 until season 2 was announced. So I was like, and a friend of ours, shout out to Atlas, one of our good friends and former co-host, he was raving to me about it. So I finally pulled the trigger, and I didn't know I needed it in my life. So in my notes under this part, I just have in all caps and in boldface just Andor. And I'm gonna just leave it at that and let Ashley speak. But basically, like, I am obsessed, and it is one of the best shows I've ever seen. Not even just one of the best Star Wars things I've ever seen.
That's awesome. Yeah, we've had a few people mention that one. I have not watched it. As listeners know, I've watched maybe 3 things on Disney Plus. I know it's horrible. I watched Newsies for podcast prep, and I watched the live action. This is so silly. The live action. What was that with the dogs? You know, the dogs that fall in love. Oh my gosh, how am I forgetting the name of it?
Lady
and the Tramp.
Yes, thank you. And then something else. So it hasn't even been like the big things that everybody watches. So someday, maybe I will do that. So yeah. But Ashley, what are you into?
I am notoriously terrible at watching current television, aside from one show, and that show is Top Chef. And I literally just got done watching the episode before the finale. So the finale happens next week, and I'm very excited about it.
What season are they on now?
They're on season 22, which is wild to think about.
Yeah, I remember when it started.
Same.
Like 2 years ago.
This season was the first time that they shot the main chunk of the show in another country. They were in Canada. And some of the Canadian challenges that they did were very fun. And it was a good group of contestants this year as well. I think it was season 5. There was a small group of queer contestants that called themselves Team Rainbow, and I love that. So every year I would always root for Team Rainbow. This year, unfortunately, there was only one contestant who was part of Team Rainbow, and spoilers, they got eliminated on the first episode.
Oh,
no.
So I had to find someone else to root for. No. But the person that I am rooting for is in the finale, so I'm very excited about that too.
Well, that's good. I find, and I guess I just curse people, but I find when I'm rooting for people on those shows, they're always the ones that get eliminated.
Right.
And the people I don't like are the ones that win. And I'm like, why? I'm sorry I cursed you.
So find a person you like the least and maybe root for them. Does it work in like the other way? I don't know.
I'll try and bring myself to do that. But yeah, I haven't watched Top Chef in quite a while, but I'm obsessed with the show The Bear. So
yes,
we just covered that. So yeah, so I am obsessed with that show. So that made me almost want to go and watch it again. Mm-hmm. Top Chef. I watch a lot of baking shows.
I'm horrible at baking.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with cooking in that when you are an army of one, so to speak, it is not necessarily fun to have to cook for yourself constantly, but I invite people over a lot and cook for them, and that makes it more fun.
I hate cooking. I do. I'm not good at it too. I love baking, but I do not like cooking. I hate it. It's, it's like the bane. I would just wish I could just like have a personal chef. I wish I had the money to have a personal chef who just cook for me. Because I agree. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to sit here and think about what to make.
Get very tired of thinking about what I need to make myself for dinner every night. But
yeah,
when it's for other people, it's fun.
Yeah, it still stresses me out, but it's more fun if you're sharing. I agree. Well, last night I went with Erin A to go see Dogma on the big screen again. Now,
nice.
Yeah, if you don't know, Dogma is finally Kevin Smith's again. He finally got it back from, the clutches of the horrible, awful Harvey Weinstein and everything.
Yeah.
And I am so glad that it's able to be seen now. And it was just so much fun seeing it on the big screen. It's the first time I've seen it, I think, since it was out in the theaters originally.
Right, which was like, what, about 25, 26 years ago? Because that was, 99?
Yeah.
Because that's when I think I saw it. And I'm not going to tell you, I was what? Like, I was still in middle school when that happened.
I was older than that, so don't feel too old. Yeah, and they played, I went to go, because I'm very fortunate, I have an Alamo Draft House Theater near me, and I
am so
only
jealous
go
of
there.
you.
I know, everybody gets jealous, and that's the only theater I will go to now because of the fact that you don't have to deal with horrible people, and they have a curated pre-show. And so their pre-show for it was all these old 90s, it was from 99, so it was all these commercials or old videos. And Erin A., who is our producer, and I were sitting there and we're like, I don't remember any of these songs. So I'm like, I was there. I wasn't like a baby. I was there. But we couldn't remember most of the songs. I'm like, they just picked really obscure ones. And then the saddest part, though, was they had a commercial for Blockbuster Video. And I was like, oh, video stores are gone.
Uh-huh.
Was it in like grayscale? Did they like overlay with like a Sarah McLachlan song? Maybe like like I Will Remember You. Maybe it was playing over it, because that would have been a lot more appropriate, I feel.
They should have done that. But I did go, oh, that's so sad. It's gone. But it was great fun seeing the movie again. There are some parts, of course, it's not an excuse, but some parts that are very dated, very late 90s, some of the jokes and stuff, but it still was so entertaining and fun. And seeing George Carlin again and Buddy Christ was just still just absolute genius. And I mean, the perfect person to cast in that role, of course, was George Carlin, because I mean, the way and his views on religion and everything, it was a ton of fun. And I have to say, even though I have very mixed feelings about Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, they are so good in that movie. And they're having so much fun being just like these out of control angels. And I loved watching them, and loved watching the scene when they go to the movie offices, you know, and Matt Damon is like, we're going to kill all these people. And it's just hilarious. It's just a really, really funny scene. And of course, spoilers if you haven't seen Dogma, and of course, Alanis Morissette being God in the end.
Again, perfect casting, 10 out of 10, no notes whatsoever.
Yeah, and seeing Alan Rickman again and everything. And it's just such a near perfect movie. I think, you know, Linda Fiorentino is notorious for actually not being very fun to work with, I guess. So that's what I've heard. And I think Kevin Smith, I believe, has said some things about that too. So I kept thinking that while I was watching it, like, oh, I wonder if everybody else was uncomfortable around her or what. But it was still just a blast to see it on the big screen. So if you're able to, if it's still showing, go see it, and hopefully it'll be available streaming and also just in physical media as well. So yeah.
And please support physical media.
Yes, we need physical media because we're in danger of losing stuff, I think. So fingers crossed for more physical media, please. Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about one thing in pop culture or fandom that we are excited, upset, maybe middle of the road about. So we'll be right back.
With a Venmo debit card, you can Venmo more than just your friends. You can use your balance in so many ways. You can Venmo everything. Need gas? You can Venmo this. How about snacks? You can Venmo that. Your favorite band's merch? You can Venmo this. Or their next show? You can Venmo that. Visit Venmo.me/debit to learn more.
You can Venmo this, or you can Venmo that. You can Venmo this, or you can Venmo that. You can Venmo.
The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated. Card may be used everywhere MasterCard is accepted. Venmo purchase restrictions apply.
Okay, so Adrian, what is one thing in fandom or pop culture that you are excited, maybe upset about, maybe middle of the road about?
My initial choice was going to be something like Marvel Comics, like MCU related, but I was watching The Fate of the Furious earlier, and I went on almost like a 20-minute rant to my stepson about how I am terribly like afraid of the, I guess, Fast and Furious, 10 part 2 or 11. Because that's one of like my, I don't even know anymore. Fast and Furious X/2. I don't know what we're calling it at this point. There's no
Isn't
title.
that a Final Fantasy game?
Right. Oh, I would love that because it's such a huge like part of like I want to say part of my identity, which sounds really sad if you think about it that way, but I love those movies to death. And if you've listened to the show, you know we've covered a lot of it. And I am really worried about how this is all going to play out because it's getting a little, so I'm excited and I'm upset, but I'm also kind of mid about it because right now we know nothing and no spoilers, but it ends on a massive cliffhanger. I'm like, well, how in the heck are we going to figure this out? Because this is a very hyper specific place to be. So I am I am all of those things with the Fast and Furious, whatever we're calling the next movie.
Okay, I haven't seen a single Fast and the Furious movie. I'm sorry. I know we have another frequent panelist, Sasha, that's her favorite action franchise.
Oh, that is very good to know.
I didn't even know we had that many. I didn't even know. I thought there was just like 4 or 5.
There are literally dozens of us.
No, I meant of the movie.
I know.
That would be funny. Or just this really niche little fandom over there. Someday I will watch one because I think it's probably something that you should watch. But haven't they gone to space too? Or am I thinking of something else?
No, you are thinking of the correct thing.
Okay.
What's been fun for me in covering them on the show is that I had seen the first 2 and then hadn't seen any of the other ones.
Oh my God.
So watching them for the first time and kind of watching how the series starts from very humble beginnings where we're solving a crime where people are stealing DVD/VHS players to going to literal space. It's been fun watching this series kind of develop into this very silly but very fun action thing. But at the heart of these movies, what drives them is the characters and those relationships that they have. And it is actually like a really like heartfelt and a very sweet sort of movie series, which I never thought I would say about a series that is basically just like muscle cars and stuff.
Well, it's family, right? Like found family, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I just am still laughing at that solving a crime of stealing VCRs and DVD players.
2001 was definitely a time.
You are not kidding.
Or the ads, don't pirate this movie or you'll go to jail. Yeah, that's just making me think of that. It also makes me sad because I kind of miss those times,
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, keep us up to date on everything going on with Fast and Furious. I'm sure.
And if you ever do watch it, like watch the very first one and then whatever is up to that point, the very last one, and then then finish in the middle, like see the beginning and the end, and then ask yourself, how did we get here? And then please report back after. I'm kidding, of course, but
I'm tempted to do that now, though, because that's an interesting way to watch it. It's like if you were to watch Friday the 13th. I'm a horror fan. That's my favorite genre. And if you were to watch like the very first Friday the 13th and then like just watch like the one Jason X where he's in space.
Oh my God.
If you were to watch those, it just reminds me of that for some reason. You'd be like, how did this happen? How did it go from the mom being the killer to...
That's the thing. You don't even know who Jason is, and all of a sudden you're in space. It's like there's so many questions.
Exactly. So, Ashley?
I think I'm going to go middle of the road here. So, the Last of Us Season 2 finale happened a couple weeks ago, and I have been racking my brain on this season since it happened, essentially. Adrian and I are both big gamers, so I played this game and was expecting something very different TV-wise than what we got. And some of it I really enjoyed, and some of the choices that they made were just very strange. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to judge because for some reason, we got to split everything into 2 parts. So this is, the first part of the season. So hopefully they can stick the landing with the second part. But unfortunately, it's one of those we won't know for a couple of years until that actually happens. So until then, we're kind of left with this really middle of the road, weird part one. But the one good thing I will say is that it seems like it's brought a lot of people back to the original games, trying to kind of figure out how they feel about things by experiencing it firsthand. And I love that. That's great.
Yeah, I know people are very mixed about this season, and I know the majority of people don't like it. I know the finale had like a huge drop in numbers of people that watched it.
Oh, wow.
And so HBO is like, well, that's because it was Memorial Day weekend. That's it.
There are family members I never saw when Game of Thrones was airing. And yet, of course, when that infamous last season happened, all of a sudden there's a lot of people who re-entered my life for what is seeming like a similar reason. So I don't think that's it, HBO. I don't think that's the case.
And this was the show that my sister and I will have a show that we watch together. And this is the show we were watching together. So we were like a week behind. And I heard everybody complaining about the season finale. And I'm one of the few that I actually think this season was better than I know most people think. I think, and I still won't say in case people don't know, I think the thing that happens in episode 2, which I was spoiled for in season 1 of The Last of Us, that I didn't play the game, but I was spoiled that it was going to happen. I was fine with it, though. And I was fine with it happening on the show. I'm not saying I liked it. I'm not saying I wanted it to happen, but it made sense to me. Actually, it kind of fit with the world they're in and what had happened in season 1. And I know a lot of people stopped watching after that. I know people that were like, I'm done. This show has no heart to it anymore. And there's no reason to watch this show anymore. And I understand. I do understand. Right. But to me, it made sense. And I thought they handled it well. But my issue is this season was over in like 2 seconds. There was like 7 episodes. It was over so quick. And then having to wait 2 years is so ridiculous. Streaming has ruined so much of television because, I mean, we haven't even, they finally have released the dates for the final season of Stranger Things. And the last season was like, 3-4 years ago, whatever. It feels like forever ago.
And then it broke it up to like 3 parts. It's like, why?
I know. And 3 parts, like all on holidays. Like around Thanksgiving and then Christmas and then New Year's. It's like, okay. It's just like you've hyped this up for years and years and years. Why wait that long? And a lot of people think Stranger Things is what actually started all of this phenomenon of waiting for years and years. And also just having the short seasons, which I used to think that was good because it made the writing tighter. But now I don't think so anymore because I think you have to let a show breathe and you have to have those filler episodes, and we don't get those anymore. Plus, on the job front, on the job side of it for people in the industry, it's harder for people to make a living now. And, so I just, that's my issue is that, okay, great, but we're going to have to wait 2 years to see what happens next, and you leave it on a huge cliffhanger.
Yes.
Which cliffhanger is fine, but it used to be you just have to wait the summer and then you find out.
Right. And not literal years where a whole lifetime can be had in that time and you come back. It's like, I have no memory of any of this.
Exactly. So, I mean, I was seeing it, speaking of the bear, I was reading something in Reddit, and this is shows you how everything has changed. And someone's like, is this normal to have such a quick turnaround between seasons? Isn't it normal to be like at least 3 years between seasons? And everybody's like, oh my gosh.
Don't complain. Don't let them hear you.
I know. Everybody's like, no, it used to be a few months between. So I liked it better than most people, but it's just annoying to me that we have to wait that long.
There were parts of it that were good. I think Bella Ramsey is getting a lot of undue hate. I think the things that were the issues with that character in particular, I don't think are their fault. I think it kind of lies in some other spots. And I wish we as a society, as people, would stop attacking people for doing their jobs. Like
Right. Thank
Like-
you.
coming after them for essentially like doing a job for a couple weeks. Like no one comes and yells at me if I do spreadsheets wrong. Like it's just the idea of having, a whole community come at me for that is wild. And I just wish people would take a second and understand that other people make those choices. It's not just the actors.
Right. These are
Yeah.
mostly fictional characters.
Yeah. You can't blame them for the actions that a writer wrote for them to do.
Exactly.
It's like, I mean, soap stars have talked about that for decades.
Oh my God.
How they get attacked out in public.
Like
you
physically
came
attacked.
Yeah. You came between my favorite couple. It's like, no, I didn't. The writers did it. I didn't. I'm not that character. That's a fictional person. I'm me. And yeah, people just get so involved that they have a hard time separating the
Mhm.
actor from the role they're playing.
Which means they're doing something right.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
You're not wrong, but
But it's still it's just, I mean, that's just sad to me because it's not this,
Yeah.
they're not their characters. You can't blame them for stuff that the writers do. Fandom has a tendency to do that with writers too, though. The supernatural fandom, which, it's a big reason this show even exists, is notorious for that, for going after the writers on social media. And some of it is warranted because that show queer baited like big time.
Mhm.
So some of it is warranted, but at the same time, some of the way it was done is kind of, I don't know, crossing a line, in my opinion.
Mhm.
They've chased a lot of people off social media and,
You can have an opinion and you can voice that opinion, but you don't necessarily need to make it that person that worked on that show's problem.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Mhm.
it's like live in your discomfort.
Yeah, it's okay.
And believe me, I was sobbing like a baby in the multiplex when Thanos snapped away half the Avengers, but I'm not gonna like find Josh Brolin and throw something at him. I'm like, he's not purple. Like, like he's not an actual like alien from some other planet with the magical glove. Like that's not.
No, he's red in a jacket. He's Hellboy. It's different.
I'll never understand it, and I guess I'm glad I don't understand it because that would mean maybe that I'm equally as unhinged. But I don't know. Like I said, these are little fictional characters. Am I allowed to tell people who may be listening to this to touch grass? Is that out of line?
That's fine.
Okay.
We've said that before. Yes, because I mean, there are fictional characters. Everybody knows Dean Winchester is my all-time favorite fictional character ever. But I'm not going to assume Jensen Ackles is like him because, well, he's not. He's not Dean Winchester. Because Dean Winchester is, frankly, no offense, Jensen, but a little bit better than Jensen.
I like this already with the spicy takes out the gate. I love it.
Hey, I've met Jensen at conventions a couple times, but for the quick little interactions, still love you. You're a great actor, but Dean Winchester is the best. So. Well, I am also mixed on what I'm going to say because, and this kind of fits with what I even talked about last week in a way of, I was talking last week about how Dexter Resurrection, I did not want to get excited by the trailer.
Mhm.
I got excited by the trailer. Blame Michael C. Hall because I'll watch anything Michael C. Hall does. And yeah, and even though I don't want Dexter Resurrection, I'm still going to watch it. And we'll probably do our live stream reactions, me and Jen and Carla, like we did for Dexter New Blood. But along those same lines, the horror film The Black Phone that came out a few years ago, same year as Barbarian. And I thought it was a great horror movie. Ethan Hawke is, of course, the villain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of got a supernatural element to it. It takes place in Wheat Ridge, Colorado. I'm in Colorado, so, that added to it. then they announced they were going to make a sequel because it was so successful. And I'm just like, we don't have to make sequels for every single thing.
Right.
It's not necessary. But then the trailer dropped, and that trailer is so good. Oh my God. I was like, dang it. I've watched the trailer like 4 times or something like that. And I'm like,
they pulled me back in.
They did. I'm like, man, this looks scarier than the first one. And it's taking a supernatural turn. And I mean, it always had a supernatural turn, but that's how they're kind of making it go on. And it just looks really freaky. They have, I can't remember the song. It's a grunge song, something from the 90s, playing in the trailer, and it works really well. And it also looks kind of cold, like it made me cold watching it. It's coming out in October, so it's a perfect Halloween time film. So I'm just upset that I actually am very excited about this movie now. I didn't want to be. And I'm like, oh, yay, I can't wait to watch this movie now.
To be into a fandom is to be almost upset that you're as into it as you are, especially when you feel like no one else feels. Like I said, going back to Fast and Furious, sometimes I feel bad or upset for Ashley that she has to hear all of like my ranting and raving, or like with my fiance and her kids, where it's like, I don't think this many people should be like emotional about muscle cars. But I can't help it. So I don't necessarily, I don't know a lot about Dexter, but at the same time, it's like I feel your pain just on like just a purely fandom level.
That's a very good way to put it, because it is this emotional thing. And with horror, with that being my favorite genre, and we're getting so many great horror films lately. Although, let me tell you, the latest Final Destination was such a big disappointment to me.
Oh, that hurt.
I thought it was hyped up. It was too hyped up. And the opening was really great, but after that, nope. So with horror, it's like we've been getting so many great things that are original. And of course, Sinners being like the best movie of the year so far, which it's on streaming now, if you don't know that, everybody. So if you didn't see it on the big screen, which it was really meant for the big screen, you could go rent it. With that, and with so many great movies coming out that are original, it's just kind of like, why do we have to do a sequel? But then this looks really good. And it's just like Smile 2 last year. I don't know if either of you have seen either of those movies, but Smile 2 to me was actually better than the first one. And I was not expecting that, because I was like, we don't need a sequel to this movie. And then it's like, I mean, it's very depressing, actually. It's very dark and heavy. It's very heavy. But it was better than the first one. So it's like, I'm so mixed about it, because it's when they come out and they're actually good, then it's like, okay, well, I guess sequels are okay sometimes. And I guess in horror, you can forgive it a little bit more than in other genres. I don't know. But Ryan Coogler has said he doesn't want to make a sequel to Sinners, because there were all these rumors going around that there was a sequel coming and that they were trying to get Tom Cruise in the sequel. Your face, Adrian. Oh my gosh.
That was not the name I was expecting you to say. I know. Like, there's something entertaining about the idea of Tom Cruise being in a Ryan Coogler movie that, you know, my morbid curiosity would want me to like check that out. But just, I thought maybe it was going to be a different name, because I'm like, in what world would that happen?
Right.
Well, I think that rumor came because Tom Cruise was interviewed I'm a Mission Impossible fan. Tom Cruise is, you know, he's a cult member and all that, but
those movies are great.
But he had been like asked a question about Sinners, or he was talking about Sinners, and he was talking about how great it is in the theater. And so I think because he was hyping the movie up, people just kind of went, okay, so we're going to do a sequel and you're going to be in the sequel, right?
That is a reach.
I also just think it's wild that like he and Nicole Kidman of all people ended up being like the biggest theater champions in like the last like 5 years.
Adrian, we have to have the movies in our heart. Come on now.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? We are in some wild times, y'all. Like, welcome to the multiverse, because holy cow.
See, but I don't see the AMC ad because I just go to the Alamo.
It's the reason why I'm jealous.
Okay, well, we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about capitalism and Pride Month. The best combination. So we'll be right back.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. The Air Force Research Laboratory is partnering with Google Cloud using AI to accelerate defense research for air, space, and cyberspace forces. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
Okay, so it is that time of year. It's a little bit different this year, but it is that time of year when retailers cash in on Pride Month. And, there's a bunch of retailers and a bunch of corporations that have pulled out their support of Pride. Nissan, Toyota, a bunch that I can link in the show notes. And so even though it is that time where it feels very, gimmicky and like, are you going to do this all year or you just do it in June? I'm wondering, though, if you think it's more important this year for companies to show their support, or does it still ring a little hollow to you, Adrian?
The easy answer is the latter. Like, funny you should ask this because right before we started, just real quick, I texted Ashley to be like, I'm not sure how far into this I want to go because I'm trying very hard to not get on my soapbox and be like, we don't need the brands. But truth be told, in my opinion, and the views of Adrian are not maybe expressed by those who are listening or in the present company, I don't think it's needed as much. I don't. Now, maybe once upon a time, and I am fortunate that I'm now in a place in my life where I have a good support system. I am able to be at least a little more comfortable, with my identity in a time where I couldn't be, especially melanin presents, being a thing. But now I also would admit that not everybody has that. But I don't know how to tell somebody that you don't need a corporation, a company, or any other corporate entity for you to be proud of yourself. Now, to be fair, as someone who's wearing a Captain America shirt, and yeah, it's Marvel and Disney, big corporation, but it's the ideas and the concept of the character that I, embody. But I don't think it's really that necessary. And the fact that they were so quick to pull support only just proves that they never truly cared about the communities they claim to have represented. And at that point, good riddance. I don't know how else to say it. And I'm trying very hard to not be super antagonistic, but ultimately I don't think it's needed because we've marginalized people of however they identify have always had each other's backs and hopefully will always have each other's back, even if that same corporation will pit us against each other.
No, I think that's a good way to put it. And just for reference, anytime you're on here, don't worry about going off on a soapbox. A lot of us do it, especially when it comes to anything having to do with capitalism. So don't worry. We speak our mind on this podcast. So
okay.
Don't worry about that. Yeah. So go ahead, Ashley.
It's hard, though. So I'm local to the St. Louis area where Anheuser-Busch's headquarters have been since the company was founded. And this is the first time in 30 years that they are not providing any financial support for the Pride celebration that we have here. And I know that takes a hit on that celebration and makes it more difficult to do. But at the same time, these celebrations historically started out as these grassroots things and now have kind of been twisted into this weird thing where you're walking around and there's fun dance music playing, but also I can sign up for a credit card over there. And it's just very weird. Yeah. And I think in having some of these corporations kind of try to sneak in there and seem aggressive, it rings a little hollow and it feels a little gross. So I feel for the organizers who are trying to do a lot with a little, but hopefully in having a little less to do as far as that sort of thing is concerned and having to kind of do less of a balancing act between keeping all of these companies happy and keeping in the spirit of the events, that maybe Pride will turn less into a way to hawk things and more of an actual celebration of the history of this event.
Right. And that's something that, again, I fully agree with. And to that point, because the reason I was also worried about, getting on my soapbox is I tend to get a little worried around this time of year because I had said this to Ash literally a couple hours ago, the fact that I sometimes struggle with even feeling like I'm even, performing, and that's the thing, I'm not performing, but feeling like, you're bad at being queer, you're bad at being Black queer person because, sometimes mainstream queer culture, for lack of a better way to say it, sometimes it is very heavily influenced by rainbow capitalism. So sometimes it does tend to make you just feel a little bit bad, but Ash is perfectly right where it does feel bad for the grassroots people that are trying to get something done. But again, it just rings hollow, and it just rings hollow. It just is. So I don't know. I kind of lost my point there, and I'm so sorry for that. But no, it feels very unnecessary at this point.
Yeah, and I have seen a few people say that this is one of those times where seeing companies still support it and still do the whole capitalism and capitalizing on it means something right now since everybody is under attack and in danger, and so people feel that way. But I do agree that it's always kind of rung hollow. It's just a way to make money. Anything that can be turned into a way to make money in this country will be turned into a way to make money. Anything. Every holiday is everybody, there's cards, and there's, Valentine's Day became this huge thing where it's millions of dollars every year. And not to compare it because they're not comparable, but I mean, just the fact that that's what this country is this country just wants to find any way to make money and to use people to make money. And I do agree. The companies that have pulled out their support and stopped supporting are showing their true colors. BarkBox famously just recently had one of their employees, there was an email released where they were comparing MAGA and Pride, and the fact that everybody that people are the same. that is the same thing. It's something along those lines. I might be wording it incorrectly, so apologies. But it was something really gross and disgusting. And BarkBox has apologized and all this stuff. But still.
That is absurd. No, that was to them, by the way. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I know. I know.
that is unbelievable. Wow.
Yeah, so it's just, it's a very dangerous time right now. And it is good. I think the one thing about it this year that's good is with the companies withdrawing their support is that then you can know who these people really are, that they never really cared. Because if they really cared, they wouldn't withdraw their support because they would really stick by what they've said every Pride, and then they just withdraw their support because they're like, oh, cool. We get to be assholes now. And we've always wanted to be assholes. And now we get permission to be assholes. I mean, it's the same. Target with DEI and them pulling out of that. And they've suffered financially, which is really good. That they've suffered financially. Because they deserve to suffer financially because, and I know their board allegedly was really pissed because they lost a bunch of money. This is what happens. This is the price that you pay for being jerks. And you should pay that price. So that's the good part about it, is that you can see the true colors of a corporation. And I'm not saying that the corporations that are hopping on the capitalism bandwagon for Pride are necessarily honest or really believe what they're saying. They're out to make a buck. But the companies that are still staying, at least they're not caving into hatred, and they're not caving into the wannabe dictator, and they're not caving into that. So that's the good part about it. But I do agree overall, it always rings hollow to me. It's very much, it's that time of year. And it's like, why don't I don't see you doing this all year long. That's the part, is it's like, do you really support LGBTQIA plus rights all year, or is it just the month of June? Do you speak out all year, or is it just the month of June? And if it's just the month of June, then it's hollow. Granted, yes, we're celebrating Pride Month, but we try to, on this podcast, to have it be something we're celebrating year round. We try to give a voice to people that don't usually get a voice in this medium. And we don't always succeed, but hopefully we do. So that's what I think you have to do. You have to realize this is a year-long thing, and you can't just lend your support when it's the cool thing to do and when it'll get you money, because that's what it's about. It's just about money. Bottom line, it's just money. And like you were saying, Ashley, this is, Pride didn't start as a corporation thing. It didn't start as that. It started as a fight for rights. It started as a battle. It started as a protest. It started as a movement, and not just a day to go out and, like you said, sign up for a credit card or enter a raffle to win something, or,
Right, exactly.
Or have your neighborhood realtor at the event being like, if you need to buy a home, here I am. And you may have heard some of these people during our ad breaks. Because I don't control that. I always think that because we often criticize a lot of corporations on here. And I'm like, sometimes I'll listen to whatever ad ends up. And I'm like, oh, we just criticized this corporation. Here they are, advertising.
There was a podcast I was listening to recently where they were kind of poking fun at Ryan Reynolds and then cut to a Mint Mobile ad. And I'm like,
well,
perfect. 10 out of 10 comedic timing. I love that. It was completely unintentional, but I love it the same.
Yeah, that happened once on here. We were talking about Disney, and we were talking about something with, the greediness and something like that. I don't remember. And right after it was like something for Disney Plus. Okay, well, thank you so much, Adrian and Ashley, for joining me for this week's Pop Culture and Fandom News episode.
You're very welcome.
If you want to just remind the listeners again about your podcast and where they can find it. Did you want to do that, Ashley, or you, Adrian?
Sure, I can do it. It's my turn to talk. So Talking Like a Teen is a podcast that Adrian and I do that sort of celebrates all of the pop culture things that are important to us, and is a celebration at its very core of our friendship and how much we love each other. You can find us a few different places online. We are at Instagram at TLAT Podcast. We are on Blue Sky at TLAT Podcast .bsky. Whatever it is.
I think it's social.
I never know.
If you're on Blue Sky, seriously, go follow us. We've just kind of made the transition over there, and Adrian runs that for the most part, and he's very lonely. We have a website. It's www.adrianhasissues.com/TLAT podcast. And you can also reach out to us directly via email, tlatpodcast@gmail.com.
Awesome. And I'll put a link to the website in the show notes. Yeah, I'm trying to get used to Blue Sky. I still haven't quite figured it out. And I the Blue Sky thing at the end, I'm just like, when will that go away? Because it's just like long. It's like, okay, is that really necessary? But
because I believe you can map your domain to it, which I feel like is probably the only, probably the best thing at this point until that kind of gets changed. Because trying to find a way to tell somebody about it without having to say the whole thing, it's very daunting.
It's like, here's my name, just search for me.
That's what I've done. I'm just like, we're there.
Yeah.
Well, this is Erin, and Fergie the dog, and this will be new for both of you, loves horror movies. So She's going to be so excited about the sequel to Black Phone. She's excited about any horror movie. She really does sit there and watch them. You can follow her on TikTok and see her watching, like, there's a video on there of her watching Insidious. And she's like this. Like, watching so intently that I captioned it, should I be scared? But she also likes true crime.
Okay.
So when we leave the house, we leave on Dateline. But she mixes it up with Abbott Elementary. She loves Abbott Elementary. When I was watching it for the podcast, and I still watch it because I love that show, she got so into it. And I was like, what is it about this show? Are you like learning? Are you like the comedy? You're like,
greatest cross section.
And then other stuff, she's like, whatever, I'm not watching this. But horror is her absolute favorite. And also, when we covered Nip Tuck a few years ago, and that was a rewatch for me, the most miserable rewatch experience of my life on this podcast. That show does not hold up at all to me. But she loved watching that show, especially during the plastic surgery scenes. She was so entertained. And like, she's plotting something. I don't know what, but she's plotting something. But you can follow her on TikTok at Schroeder and Fergs. That's SCHROEDERANDFERGS. It's long, but it's worth it. To find all our past episodes, links to our social media. I don't think our Blue Sky is up there yet, but we're on Blue Sky as well. And also link to our Patreon, which you can become a Patreon supporter for as little as $3 a month. You get episodes a day early. You get ad-free content. So, hey, you don't pay capitalism. You pay us directly. Don't sponsor them. You can sponsor us. You get bonus content. You occasionally win prizes. Like my Patreon supporters won prizes during our marathon streaming event. All sorts of fun stuff. So you can go to the Support Us tab on our website. It's a fandomthingpod.com. And you can also find links to our Redbubble store there, our Buy Me a Coffee. And like I said, if you want to find any of our past episodes, they're all there. So thank you again to Adrian and Ashley. And they will be back for our Friday episode talking about Tegan and Sarah. I'm so excited to talk about this with both of you because I am so new to them, even though I'm not new to them, kind of thing. Like, I didn't realize, but I just can't wait to hear the whole story of how both of you found each other because of this. I just love that. Because everybody that's on this podcast, we found through fandom, like all our regular panelists. So it's like, so I just love stories like that. It's wonderful. It's a beautiful thing. So that will be on Friday's episode. So until next time, remember, it's a fandom thing. Black Lives Matter, Stop Asian Hate, and Free Palestine.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.